Chapter 13. A Funeral for a Friend. In the stillness of his seedy hotel room in Mesa, Arizona, which could be rented either by the week or the hour, or even possibly even by the night, Mountain Cap sat daydreaming about the highlight reels of his misspent youth. His mind swirled with a tempest of emotions, each one vying for dominance in the tumultuous landscape of his still booze-soaked thoughts. Then the old telephone in the room rang. As he then reached for the receiver, his fingers began to tremble with a mixture of both anticipation and dread, like a tightrope walker teetering on the edge of a precipice, uncertain of which way to turn. He wondered if the call was from his latest prostitute of choice, who seemed to be getting much too clingy lately, and insisted that Mountain was her very favorite power bottom. This was a statement that Mountain took as neither an insult nor a compliment. Mountain just felt as if he was not paying her for her opinions at all, and wondered why she repeatedly kept offering them up. Mountain suddenly recalled an old saying that he learned back in college from one of the two Nashville Steves that asserted that a prostitute's fee was not truly earned by sleeping with men, but rather by leaving immediately after doing the dirty deed. Mountain's own opinion on this matter had recently evolved to where he began to think about paying prostitution fees as an excise tax on avoiding the dreaded practices of post-coital cuddling and opinion exchange. Much to Mountain's initial pleasant surprise, the voice on the other end, once familiar and comforting, now seemed to echo with a weight of years gone by, each word a bittersweet reminder of the passage of time. "Mountain, it's Johnny Pulaski," came the voice, a whisper in the darkness that stirred memories long buried beneath the surface of his blurry consciousness. For a brief moment, Mountain was transported back to a time when the world was young and full of promise, when he and Johnny had been inseparable, bound together by a bond forged in the fires of youth. But now, as the words spilled forth from Johnny's lips, Mountain felt the weight of regret settle upon his shoulders like a heavy burden, dragging him down even deeper into the depths of his own despair. "Old Gus, he's gone now, Mountain," Johnny said, his voice now thick with both emotion and regret. "The funeral is slated for this weekend, and you, my old friend, are going to need to come back home to Beanfield for it." The word home resonated deeply with Mountain at this moment in time. Johnny's words now hung in the air like a specter, casting a pall over Mountain's soul as he grappled with the enormity of this news. Gus, the wise old sage who had once been a guiding light in some of Mountain's darkest early hours, was now lost to the sands of time, apparently leaving behind only memories and regrets in his wake. Mountain felt horrible about the last time that he and old Gus talked in the aftermath of the Carbondale firecracker and shopping cart riots that Mountain helped to incite, or rather to ignite. Regret then overcame him, and he suddenly began to weep uncontrollably. As Mountain made the long journey back to Beanfield, the road stretched out before him like a winding path through the labyrinth of his past. Each mile marker served as a vivid reminder of the choices that had led him to this very moment. And as he stood among the mourners gathered at Gus's graveside, a sense of sorrow washed over him again, as if it were a tidal wave crashing violently against the rocky shore, threatening to engulf him in its mighty depths. But amid the sea of familiar faces attached to unknown names, there stood Mountain's most long-standing friend Johnny Pulaski, with his steadfast presence acting as if it were a beacon of hope in the stormy seas of Mountain's very soul. And as they stood together there in silent solidarity, Mountain could not help but to feel a sense of peace wash over him, like a ray of bright sunlight breaking through the dark clouds after a long and tempestuous night. For in the end, it was Gus who had ultimately believed in second chances, and unknowingly to Mountain, had offered Johnny a job as head caddy at Shady Pines only a few months prior, and it was old Gus, in perhaps his final valiant act, who had brought Mountain and Johnny together once more, united in their grief, but bound by a friendship that now truly endured the test of time. And as Mountain now gazed out upon the familiar lights of Beanfield, he knew that though the road ahead would be fraught with both challenges and obstacles, he also knew that he would be able to face them with courage, gusto, and determination yet again, for Gus's memory would live on in his heart for eternity. Except with a single amendment, as Mountain now referred to Gus as Dead Gus, as opposed to Old Gus. For Mountain Cap liked even his grief to be served with a side of humor, and so did his old buddy the intrepid Johnny Pulaski.